Hey everyone, welcome to Mindfulness Monday. Amanda Gregg here with you. Looking forward for our interview today. So today we have Erin Berry of Very Blissful. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so excited to have you. So usually I do just a little bit of an intro, not reading anybody's bio or anything like that, but I do want to get some of her titles correct because Erin does a lot of cool things. So she is a transformational coach, she is an energy healer, and she also does something that connected us from the very beginning, mindful movement. And so we're going to be chatting a little bit more about that today. And our topic today is slow your roll in 10 seconds or less. And this is a great topic for us to connect on, something that I could hear Erin saying in the back of my mind. And if you followed Erin on Facebook, you would definitely know this is something that she would say. So we're excited to talk about this. So if you don't know me, my name is Amanda Gregg, and I have a company called Soaring Healing. I am passionate about helping people get comfortable in their bodies so they can really begin to move past stress, past anxiety, and be the best version of themselves. And so Mindfulness Monday is that time that you can tune in for a short period of time, learn a little bit. Every guest that I have really shares some of their expertise and all of the things that they know. And so that's what we're going to do today. So Erin and I met actually at a dot. So if you know the polka dot powerhouse, we met at one of those events. I swore that I knew her from another event. I had no idea what event that was, but she was like, I don't think so. But I feel like it was actually that I knew her perhaps from a past life, or that it was just a really awesome connection with this movement piece that we had. So that is how I got to know Erin. Have had a few walking connects with her where we've been out in nature and just chatted, and that is why we are coming to you today with this live and some of the topics that we want to talk about with how to slow your roll. So Erin, without further ado, let's talk a little bit about this. So how to slow your roll in 10 seconds or less. I am giving my audience all of June really talking about the topic of busyness and what that means. So I want to kind of see your perspective on that and see what sort of tips you have hidden in that little space of yours.
Yeah, this is a great day to be talking about that because today was a little busy. I've really enjoyed the space that I've had over this pandemic time, and I'm trying to figure out how to hold on to it and just kind of had that reminder today. So some of the tips I'm going to share are things that I've done myself to slow my own roll today. See? Is that how you imagine me saying it?
Exactly.
Okay.
I love it.
So my favorite, absolute favorite around this, and I want to say first, I guess, can I talk a little bit about busyness, like from my perspective?
Oh, please.
Okay.
Yes.
One thing I've busted myself at a lot over the years, and then something I work with my clients on, is this idea of self-abandonment. And to me, busyness is exactly that. If we're too busy to sit with the stuff that we need to sit with, it just, it gets swept under. And I also have a saying, I'll tone it down for this, but it's the universal 2x4, I also call it, across the forehead. When you don't stop, you either knock yourself out. So like last year, I ended up on my couch for 3 weeks with the flu because I kept promising to take a break and I never did. Or some big explosion happens in your life because you haven't taken the time to sit and breathe. And the other thing about that is then your whole life goes by and you miss the present moment, which is all there really is. So one of my favorite techniques is actually one that I learned from my child's preschool back in the day. I called it STAR, stop, take a deep breath, and relax. A lot of times we're like so in our head that we're completely out of our bodies. And when we're out of our body, we just spin and we perpetuate that energy. A lot of times that creates anxiety. And so if you can really get into your body and feel into what's going on. So we could do it together now if you want.
Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds great. One thing that I want to say as you were saying that was this is that when you talk about that busyness and how you define that, I really love that. It definitely like clicked for me. And I tell my audience, if something resonates with you, hold on to it. And so thanks for that perspective on that. And yes, I would love to do this star right now.
Start breathing. Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, so let's put our hands on our belly, because that, I just feel like when you have that feedback from your hands on your belly, and then you can close your eyes and drop down as long as you're not driving or working machinery. Right?
Right.
Gotta put that disclaimer
Little
in there.
disclaimers. Yep.
Right. So soften the belly, settle, feel your shoulders drop and your jaw relax. And then just take 3 deep breaths into your belly so that you feel your belly expand out into your fingers. And then let it go. And what you'll notice is that when you do that, you can't really be anywhere else but the present moment. If you're focused on the breath, it brings you right to this moment right here.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing that kind of comes up for me too as we were doing that is it really brings you the five senses. I've
Yeah.
talked with some of my audience about the five senses, and it's so simple, and yet we don't do it. And when you bring yourself back to that, there's really nowhere else, no other place you can be. So I really like
Yes.
that. I like that. Tell us a little bit about your perspective about mindful movement. My audience is very familiar with mindful movement. I say, like, try to move at least 1 hour, every hour. I mean, not 1 hour, every hour. And it could just be a few moments. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be anything that is a long workout or that you're doing something that takes a lot of time, but it's the mindful part of that. So tell us your perspective about that.
I love that you just touched on the time thing, because I used to buy into that. If I couldn't work out for an hour plus, it wasn't worth my time, which is ridiculous because it does actually build up over time.
Mm.
So what I tend to do for my own personal movement is I have a trampoline in my backyard now, so I can go jump on that just real quick and like clear my brain. I love dance. That's another thing we share together. I will bust out into a dance party at any point in my kitchen, my driveway, my living room. It's a known fact. Like, my kids don't even flinch at it anymore because I'm just constantly dancing. Or I just keep a yoga mat out and just do it. And I would love to address this as well, but there's this idea that the shoulding over what you're supposed to do with your movement, do it makes your body feel good. Move your body in the way that it wants to move, not the way that you think you're supposed to move it. And then the mindful piece, like just like what we did with the breath, like how present can you be with that movement as you're doing it? Like, don't project into what you're doing next or what you adjusted, but just stay really present in this moment right now.
Yeah, yeah. And that's so true because I've talked to audience or folks that I've worked with in the way that they're saying, "Oh yeah, well, I go and get up and get a drink of water or I go to the restroom or whatever throughout the day." But as we really start to talk about the mindful factor of that, that's fine. You walk to the
Mhm.
bathroom, great. But really being mindful in that, because what I can find myself do is that I'm thinking about what my next thing is that I got to do
Yes.
or that I need to go here or whatever it may be. So it's really that mindfulness that starts to actually have your body crave that movement. And what I've heard people say is that it becomes more spontaneous.
Yeah, that's been my experience for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So great. So with those that are watching and enjoying this, so with that star breathing, that is definitely something that I love to give folks tools. And like I said, if it resonates with you, please take it, please use it, see how it grows as well. Because what I've started to learn is everything is out there, right? These different thoughts, these different ideas, But as you start to take them and make them your own, that you can really create them into a tool that is very personalized to you. So that's really, I think, what Erin does and what I do and the work that we do. One thing that I want to talk about, Erin, before we sign off for today is I want to know a little bit about, you have an upcoming workshop, and sorry if I'm getting this wrong, but a workshop that's really into looking at relationships. And this is not only relationships that are romantic relationships, but it's also where we began our conversation with the busyness about relationships with ourselves. So give us a little bit of an idea about that, because I think when you started off by saying that busyness is kind of us taking a step and leaving ourselves, this relationship thing is really important. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So self-abandonment is probably the biggest part of that, right? It's the not having a relationship with self. If we're not careful, we project all of our wounding, all of our trauma, all of our happiness, all of everything onto everyone in the world outside of ourselves. And so I've decided, it's just, I'm so fired up about it. I just have this information I want to share with as many people. Like, it's my life work, and I just don't understand why the heck it took me as long as it did for me to figure it out. And I am still very much in the work in real time. But it's around all the components that lead us to have the relationships that we have. And so, like you mentioned, it's not just romantic, it's friendships, relationships with our family, but it's also our relationship to life in general. Like, how are we showing up, or how are we not showing up? Are we running away? Are we hiding? Are we just going through life with these patterns over and over and over, wondering, why does this keep happening to me? When really, actually, we keep attracting the same thing. And so it will be a really a deep dive into all the ways that we are affected in life that then show up in our relationships.
Oh, good, good. Well, that sounds really like a really great opportunity to deep dive into that. And so for those of you that are watching, I will have a link at the bottom that you can check that out, back to Erin's website. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, please connect with her there. So with today, so glad you joined us for Mindfulness Monday, Erin. Thank you for being here. We so appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And for all of you out there, thank you for being here, and thank you for tuning in for Mindfulness Monday. If it's your first time tuning in, it comes to you every Monday at 3:30 Mountain Time. So we always have different topics. Every other time I do interview somebody, so check that out. I always put who I'll be interviewing as we come up. So look for that. And thanks again for being here. We'll see you all again next time.